Welcome to episode 1 of Backmarkers with Keir and Hun, the slowest F1 podcast in the world.
We're a motorsport podcast. You got
Try that
wrong.
again.
Come on then.
The slowest podcast. Should we go
Slowest
motorsport podcast?
Motorsport podcast. We might talk about other
Motorsport
things.
podcast. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yes. Otherwise it's very narrow. Okay, right,
Yes.
understood. Welcome to episode 1 of Backmarkers with Keir and Hun, the slowest motorsport podcast in the world.
Probably. The Formula One season starts this week. Can you believe?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I really can. The longest and shortest winter at the same time.
Yeah. It feels quite long though, to be fair. Feels like it has been a long time since we watched F1.
Yeah, I wish it didn't feel that way. But at the same time, we all needed a break
Yeah.
from how dramatic it ends up being at the end of the season.
Yeah. Though it wasn't that bad.
Not as bad as
season.
21, but still dramatic.
You mentioned 21. Don't do it.
Everyone does.
Don't. Shh. I'm not talking about it. But before the season starts, we had testing. Everyone's favourite part of
did.
Formula One.
Exactly.
Testing.
Exactly. Only 3 days of it this time, though, sadly. All we want is more cars on track, and we've got that less than ever in testing now.
Yeah, but you know, they also have the filming day where the teams get to go around. I can't remember what track it was.
Yeah, Silverstone. They do a lot of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Audi,
So-
Mercedes, Aston, I think, because they're local.
Yeah. They all got to do a secret test of the car because they got to do whatever they wanted with that car that day. It was
That's right.
not under testing regulations or anything, so they kind of got a sneaky extra test day.
Yeah, that's
Something like
right. I
that.
mean, it's like Ferrari getting a little run in their launch. It's like
Yeah.
it's just basically an installation lap, and it's free content. Well, it's as free as it can be, really. But it's handy for those that can afford it
Not
and
us.
have the accessibility of a track just down the road. In the case of Merc and Aston, well, Aston is even more convenient. They're on site.
Yeah.
In the case of Silverstone, and they're like upgrading all their facilities, so they're in good shape at the moment. But it pays off for sure. They just get a little look in before they get to testing. They're not having to worry so much about the installation labs.
So should we start with testing? Should we start with Red Bull? Should we start from the top?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. They set the marker straight away last season. Well, they were setting it like the year before that too. But they, with the 15 wins for Max out of 22 races, yeah,
Why are you talking about
they
that
set
shit?
the marker.
Talking about testing.
It's context. It's setting context. It's setting
21,
context. Look,
and now you're
they
talking
were
about
going
last year. You're fired. Get out. I'm doing the podcast with someone else.
It makes sense. It makes sense. Look, they went into testing the most confident out of any team because their reliability was good, their pace was good. So all they had to do was make sure all systems would go again, basically. And they hit the ground running straight off the bat. I mean, you look at Max on day one, 750 kilometers done just by him on the first day.
And it was
it's a
bulletproof.
testament to the reliability.
It was bulletproof. Like they've overhauled the whole car, including weight. The car weighs less, but has a lot of paint on it compared to the other teams, and it's just smooth, fast, reliable. Like, I mean, no faults.
Yeah,
Although
that was all the talk, wasn't it?
They did have a fault. The sensor fell off.
Oh no!
They lost the sensor.
They'll be devastated. That'll eat into their catering budget. They'll be absolutely devastated by that. I'll put it on Perez's check. That.
Oh no!
Oh no! But you say bulletproof. It's 100%. They really got off the mark and demonstrated they're still the leading team for sure. Because they were just quite happy, just plod away with their their testing runs, putting the mileage in, and it's only going to fill them more confidence as we get to Bahrain like this week. So,
and they've got a slight edge on tyre wear as well, just because we've got new tyres this year, haven't we? And they seem to have not been an issue for them whatsoever.
No, it's always been such a balanced car. This is Newey's work again. It's such a balanced car that whatever they do with it, they can adapt. As you say, with the weight difference, the tires are now heavier. So it's, I mean, yes, every tire is evenly the same weight, so balance shouldn't be as much of an issue. But at the same time, they've still got to make sure the car performs the way they expect it to. They put it through the wind tunnel, sure, but they've still got to make sure it performs on the track. And they just all the word was it's a very, very compliant car. Max himself said in an interview, it's faster than last year, miles faster than last year. So whether that means it's faster than other cars remains to be seen. But if it's, if there's weight that's come off, then it makes sense. It will be, and there will be development as well. But he's still very happy with the car and very confident, and they are clearly the ones to beat at the moment, I would argue. But it still remains to be seen because there is such a thing as sandbagging.
Well, they were all sandbagging, weren't they, really? Fastest time set was Perez. Day 3, 1:30.3.
Yes, a quarter of a second quicker than Leclerc's pole time last year.
Yeah. So
which is extraordinary.
The changes with the cars, like the floor being higher, it's 15 millimeters now, the floor, that was meant to slow them down, but also because it's helped with the porpoising, they're now that's sort of sorted out for the majority of the drivers, and it's made them quicker, even though it was meant to be slower this year.
That's right, exactly.
Not slower at all.
No, and the porpoising seems to not be an issue really anymore. I think there was only one team. Was it Alpine potentially?
Alpine, yeah. Ocon
yeah,
had a bit
they
of
were
a
the only
mare.
one, and they kept saying their car's really stiff. It was really not liking the bumps, and it was porpoising down the straight. It was the exact opposite of the Red Bull in terms of compliance. And as you say, with the changes that have been made, a lot of the teams have solved their problem. There's no shattered spines at the moment. No drivers coming into the garage going, "I'm knackered because my back's sore." Nothing like that. So that's a step forward in my opinion, and the fact they're quicker is really impressive.
But you can't get rid of porpoising because of the design of the car, so I didn't expect it to be completely gone. There is a bit. I know Haas had a tiny bit as well. They were kind of bouncing around a little bit, but it's definitely better than it was last year, especially the start of last year. It was horrendous.
Yeah, I don't know. They were just bucking around constantly. It was at Spain, wasn't it? Right down the end of the straight, and they were all over the place. They were locking up because they were porpoising.
Yeah. In
a lot of cases, so they couldn't even push the car to its limit. Ferrari and Merc had the biggest problems with that, but there's no such evidence of anything serious now. I mean, there's a little bit, as you say with Haas, there's a little bit, which is probably because they are messing around with setups, ride heights, and wing settings and so on. So when you do that, you're sort of just playing with the tolerances and a little bit, and working out what you can get away with. And I think on that occasion they thought, no, we definitely can't get away with this. It's just running too low. So they've all discovered that it can be done, which is really key. So yeah, I mean, it was just because it was a brand new approach, brand new regs last year. This time they've really got their head around it, which I think is a plus, because now they can look ahead to how to make it even faster, which they will.
Yeah, 100%. Mercedes. Mercedes have no pods again.
No, they've gone for the same philosophy, haven't they?
Right, it didn't work last year. I know they did all right, but Merc want to win. They don't want second. They don't want third. And they've took a design that kind of didn't work last year and thought we'll try it again. And
Yeah, they're stubborn.
it is an improvement. I'm not saying it does look better than last year, but they've got updates coming apparently, so they're not 100% happy with how
No.
the car is.
They are stubborn, aren't they? They
Little bit,
probably
yeah.
thought, because they weren't fully decided, were they? And they've gone back down that philosophy again. They've gone back down that development route, as I say, quite stubbornly, and thought we can make this work. But I get the feeling it's still going to be a few races where they're figuring out, can we make this work for us or not, or do we have to go back again?
But apparently
Because
they have got pods made. They've got another version of the car if this doesn't work. So if this doesn't work, they can change it.
Yeah, so they've got a Merc W14 version 2 on standby just in case this isn't giving them what they need.
Yeah.
So it's a risky one because you've not got all your eggs in one basket, which typically F1 teams will have. They'll have, have committed, sat down a certain direction development wise. I think Mercedes, they've got the budget. They can probably afford to try 2 or more different development paths.
Yeah.
But they've got to be conscious of how much time they could be wasting on the wrong one.
Yeah, that's
So
why
I'm
I'm
surprised.
confused.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
why would they risk it? Like, if you think of it from a point of view, I know like Lewis has said, oh, I'm going to do another few seasons. But realistically, Merck are looking at how long they've got Lewis for now.
Right.
And, George is fantastic. I know George beat him last season. But when that car works, Lewis is a different level. So for them to be like, oh, we'll just take our time and see how this goes, I don't get it. I just don't understand why they've gone down that route again. I don't. I'm not an engineer, but
No.
it just doesn't make any sense, especially when Red Bull is so strong.
Yeah, you've got to be decisive. This is the thing with F1. You've got to be decisive. You've got to pick something. And they are, sitting on the fence from a, fundamental development standpoint. You've got to put your foot down and say, this is what we're committing to now. Because you're just wasting your time if it could be a 50-50 decision. Because 50% of your time is being lost to what could be the right call. So you just got to make a call. It's a gamble for ultimately based on a best guess, which suggests to me that they still don't have enough data to make a decision if they're still on the fence about this. But it might work for them as well. How we don't know if they've gone back this way because they figured out why it wasn't working for them straight away. So who knows? I mean, yeah, they were showing indications that the car wasn't as compliant as, say, the Red Bull, but they were showing pace that was quite promising, given how the pace converged last season. They are already showing real promise, at least from an outright hot lap pace. Again, no indication of fuel though. They are showing indications they are a strong outfit still. They're not like midfield or anything. They're clearly not lost any significant pace. They're there. It's just whether they can take the fight to Red Bull on a regular basis is still up for debate.
Yeah. I mean, I did log how much fuel they might be running, just off some.
Oh yeah.
So, normally in the past, if they do short runs, they run between 20 to 50 kilos of fuel. If they're doing like a normal kind of run, be between 10 and 100 kilos of fuel. So,
oh my God.
I mean, that's from in the past, so I don't know if they've done it this season. That's just some notes that I read from previous testing seasons. But they did do the short stints on the softs the last hour of testing,
Mm.
and they didn't look particular. I mean, they weren't Red Bull, but they did look like they were all right. They were, they had a bit of oversteer on day 3 when Lewis was doing his faster laps, but other than that, there was nothing
Yeah, it
really
might be that they
else.
have some kind of balance issues, maybe, because I noticed that on their push laps, they were losing a lot of time in the final sector. I get the feeling that they're not very kind to the tyres. I think they can overheat a little bit on some of the softer compounds, and because of that, they are having to hold back a little bit. As you say,
Yeah,
with the oversteer, that's a case of they're just, maybe not running enough rear, and as a result, they're having to overdrive it, it's putting energy into the tyre, and they're just
yeah,
struggling to find the balance still, is what I'm suspecting. They've really needed this testing and really needed this mileage to understand what direction they need to go in,
yeah.
because I don't think they know that quite yet, but they're getting there. I think they are getting there, and
Slowly.
they're definitely in the fight for sure.
Yeah, I think they'll be top 3
Yes,
still.
regular
Yeah,
podiums,
yeah. I
few
reckon
wins.
they will, possibly.
Hmm.
Um, Ferrari,
Mm,
Ferrari,
Ferrari,
Ferrari.
very impressive. I thought they were very
Do you
impressive.
think?
Yeah, I think so. They were very consistent all the way through. Um,
I wanted more.
they wanted more out of them.
They were.
Yeah.
They improved on short runs and long run pace. They're sorry, short runs, but their long run pace wasn't as impressive.
Mm,
So that's, I think, where I'm a bit like, well, that's what matters in the race. Like, put it on P1, but if you're
yes,
not consistent throughout the race, you're gonna lag away.
that's true. Yeah, they looked, at face value like they were coping quite well, which is where I was thinking they'd had a successful test. But I also get what you mean that in terms of long runs, were they quietly struggling a little bit
Mm,
to keep the consistency? Um, it did look like just a small evolution on what they had, and it looked like they had put in quite a lot of laps as well. I thought
yeah, they
they,
did.
they were,
They did.
yeah,
They
they were
did.
the reliability wise, they were very good.
Yeah,
So,
reliability wise. But Charles said that they were better on the straights, but they're harder
mm,
on the corners, and that's the trade off they've done to
right,
keep up with the Red Bull on the
exactly.
straights because they were lacking pace there. So it's harder on the corners, which I think overall of the race will cost them. Where they've got Red Bull that
Yeah.
just doesn't have that problem whatsoever. They're all playing catch up. Like Red Bull's just
Yes.
like, we don't have to do anything. And by the time they've caught up, Red Bull's gone again. It's very it reminds me a bit of Merck, obviously, because that's how Merck used to be. But it's quite similar to Ferrari days where they were so dominant and everyone just played
Mm,
catch up all the time to them. Red Bull are
exactly.
just like that.
Yeah, Mercedes had that period through the hybrid era, and
Mm,
for everyone else was going, how do we catch up? How do we beat them? What do we have to do? And they were the ones racking their brains, and Merck simply had to consolidate with some development, and everyone else was still just clawing away, trying to get anywhere near them. And Ferrari are doing exactly that now, and they are showing signs. I think the key thing is that they're showing signs of good reliability.
yeah.
Their car is solid. They can fight with Red Bull, as far as I can see. But again, it's what were their fuel loads? What were
Yeah.
the
You
the
don't know, do
um
you?
what were the runs like? What was their plan? Because they they had work to do. Obviously, they fell back, and this will give them some. This will help the mood in the Ferrari
Mm.
camp. Having a what I would consider a successful test. I don't know what they would say, but I think they had a good 3 days.
Do you want to know what Do you want to know what Charles and Carlos's fastest time was? Testing.
Yeah. Let's hear it.
1:31.036. Carlos. 1:31.024. Charles.
12,000.
Yeah. That is how.
That's the other thing.
Ferrari don't have a driver one.
No, they have the most consistent driver lineup on the grid.
Yeah.
By far. When you put them on the same in the
Yeah.
same conditions, same fuel, same tires, or equivalent, they're dead on.
Yeah.
Those two.
If
Can't
Carlos
tell them apart.
If Carlos can sort himself out as far as not having these random accidents, then
Yes,
yeah, he would be right there with
definitely,
Charles.
definitely.
100%. Oh God, McLaren.
Oh, McLaren. Another really successful test for the Papaya outfit
Oh
in their 60th
God.
anniversary.
Oh,
It's just,
why have they gone backwards again? What have they done?
what have they done? I'm racking my brain still at this point. Because this year was just meant to be an evolution, and they looked like they were struggling so much just even to leave the garage.
81 laps they did. The lowest amount of laps for testing, 81.
Across the whole thing.
They
It's
had
just
wheel brow
unacceptable.
issues.
Yep, that's right.
Which would normally mean they need to add more weight, which will slow them down. So
Right.
that's a problem. Strengthening issues.
Yeah, it was their version of the porpoising. They didn't want to compromise, but they were forced to because it was faulty. The car was faulty. And I don't know how they've allowed it to get to that point. It was just the lack of mileage. The mood in the camp wasn't great either as a result of that. What you want is not to be looking at the car in the garage when you've got all this green flag track time available to you. You need to be out there running it to get data to shore up these things. It's not running. It's impossible to do that. So it's looking like another one of those situations where McLaren play catch up for the first half of the season and start finding some form later, because what they've done here is they've definitely missed the mark.
And they got
in
so
terms of
much
development.
They've got a plaque on the car now, which is like where their sponsor is, because they've got over 40 sponsors this year, this season, which is huge. A massive amount. You can't put that all out in a Formula One car. So they've got like these plaques that have interchanging things. I mean, they must be getting money. Like, McLaren aren't poor as a team.
No, not at all. This is a very strong outfit. Yeah, if the Formula One season was decided on marketing success, they'd win every single season by far. It's Zach's work is absolute genius when it comes to marketing, and it's always been commended, the amount of sponsorship they get. It's the way it's not quite finding its way into making that car as quick and as reliable as it can be. The minimum you have to have is a reliable car.
Yeah.
Then you can make it fast. You can't make it fast if it won't move. So you need to be able to leave the garage from time to time. And they were struggling with that. I think it was on day 3, Lando managed to get out for a hot lap, and then it's back in again for about an hour.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, where are they? Where are they? And they were just struggling with little niggly things that shouldn't have been an issue at the level they're running at.
No.
And the experience they have as well.
Oh, I mean, they've got 2 very good drivers. Oscar Piastri, you know, F2, F3 champion. He's going to be strong if he's got a good car underneath him. And Lando Norris, I mean, what more can he do to prove that, you know, he could be up there battling for championships if he had the car under him? There's going to be a certain point where Lando goes, do you know what, guys? This is not funny anymore. I need something. It's so
You're promising
bad
me
for
things.
him. Yeah.
Yeah. You've been promising me this for years. I've stuck by you, and what have you shown me? That's what he'll be thinking.
Mm.
And he is a young guy still. He's got a long career ahead of him. He's demonstrated his pace. And what he
Yeah.
needs now is the team to give him a car that enables him to reach that potential. That's all he needs. And if he's not getting it at McLaren, he will be thinking of other options. He
Yeah.
just will. Because as I say, he's still got years and years ahead. Look at the age of some of the drivers that they are when they retire. He's got plenty of time.
Oh yeah.
But I think McLaren will look at this as a very valuable opportunity this year, for Piastri particularly, with having a proven podium finisher in the team to lead things again.
Mm.
So, I mean, this is the thing though. Piastri is ridiculously fast. He won a championship every time the first year he joins it, and I don't expect that to happen this time, sadly. But he will show his pace. He will have those days where you're like, oh, there's the Piastri we know. Hopefully, it's more often than not, but he's clearly got a track record with this, and he will be very, very quick. At least I hope so, because McLaren need that development from two drivers performing at their best and pushing the car to its limit. So I think at times that wasn't happening. If you're not pushing to the limit, you don't know where the improvements are.
Where are you going with that?
Oh, I'm not going anywhere with it.
What are you doing? Don't you dare.
Yes, McLaren, very disappointing. Very disappointing indeed.
Very. From one disappointment to another. It's just jumped up.
The perfect timing.
What do you think, Loons?
More insight than me.
Probably.
Yeah.
Alpine.
Very stiff car. As
That's what she said.
Ant Davidson put several times during commentary.
They had a bit of porpoising, didn't they? They had a bit of porpoising.
They have not figured out their car yet.
No.
Not even close.
And balance issues with Ocon. Ocon looked like he just could not drive that car. And Ocon can drive, but it looks so... was it him that had the huge lockup?
Yes.
I think it was, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Whenever they did push laps, the back end was all over the place, constantly wrestling with the wheel. Final sector, I think it was, those fast bends, sort of medium to high speed corners, and the car just was really skatey,
stiff,
all over the place. Yeah, really stiff. It couldn't cope. It didn't like turning right, and it didn't like turning left.
No.
So bad news all round, really, when you're trying to drive a car as quick as they needed to. But yeah, there's two very gifted drivers in there, and again, they're not going to reach their potential. Well, not with the way it's currently looking. Not a close, not a chance.
They were nearly 2.5 seconds off the pace. I mean, I know it's not proper times, I know, but that testing, they were like nearly 2.5 seconds off. And they seem to have issues with the setup. That's what was slowing them down to get the car out. Just wasn't playing ball, the car. So every time they did something to it, it just took like an hour to set it up. So they just had constant. But they've said they're holding back on performance. I mean, if you can't get a car that's going to turn, then you can't reach its full potential. So
no.
I would hope they have got a bit of performance that they're holding back.
I mean, can you afford to hold back performance when it looked like that? I don't think so, somehow. I'd like to think McLaren were holding back performance too, to be honest with you. Maybe they all were holding back performance.
Let's pretend we're shit, right?
Yeah.
And then Bahrain will freak them all out.
Yeah, we're going to go and drive away 10 seconds a lap quicker than anybody else. And they're going to be asking all the questions then, and we're all going to be looking smug. Yeah. I don't think so, somehow. Yes, maybe there's half a second in there, if they're lucky. But they ought to probably show that a little bit more just to make sure, because the first race, is where they were testing.
Yeah.
So you better make sure you can demonstrate it there.
But they've got
To some
updates
extent.
coming for this race.
They've
got updates immediately. So, possibly something to help them with their stiffness.
Yes. Watch this space. The stiffness may be solved.
I think Alonso's just pissing himself.
He made a good call. In hindsight, obviously. He finally made a good career choice.
I literally went, what is he doing? Does he just want to go backwards? And
right.
Aston Martin, I mean, where did that car come from?
They swapped places.
I don't
basically in the pecking order.
But
Aston out of nowhere.
Just see the one thing that worries me, they're quick. Right? But I worried about their reliability. Because normally when a team takes that bigger leap in performance, they always have a bit of a reliability. I remember, talking about Jenson Button now, I remember when BAR Honda took that leap, and I know the engines aren't like they used to be, proper engines, they're Mardy engines now, but they just had blow up after blow up, and now I'm like,
absolute disaster. Yeah.
That's what always worries me when teams do that leap.
What's the catch?
Yeah.
What's the catch? What is the car's squeaky voice? What is it about the car that's going to let it down? And I'm on board with that. I think, yes, it's just testing. It's only 3 days. They may not have found the issues yet. What if it appears in the first race and everyone goes, right, there's the Aston we know. And Alonso's like, oh, L plan has failed already. It's just, I want them to do well. I do. I found myself watching Aston and going, wow, this is awesome. They are right there again.
Yeah.
And they, with a driver like Fernando Alonso in the team as well, and the amount of preparation he's been doing off season, you look at his career so far and how hungry he is still. He's like Hamilton in that way. Age is just a number with them too. As long as they're in the car, they're like they were when they were jumping in the car for their debut.
Alonso
doesn't matter. They're
drives
just
exactly the same as when he started. Absolutely.
Yeah. Aggressive. Really aggressive.
Oh my God,
but he's just won with every single car he drives.
Yeah.
And this is no different. And this is what I love about it. He's in a spot right now where he's legitimately, I think, in with a shot of fighting for podiums. Because that car, as long as it's reliable, will put him in that position to do so. So that's the key thing now for Aston. Can you make a reliable car? Because you demonstrated you're up there. You're top of the midfield at least. And may well be knocking on the door of Merc.
Well, Alonso was quicker than Mercedes over a single lap. But he was better over racing. Can you tell I'm reading notes? Is it really obvious that I'm looking up?
We came
notes.
really prepared.
Yes. He's also.
We know exactly what we're talking about.
I saw this on Twitter. I can't remember who I saw it off. Apologies. It was a tweet. I forgot who it was. It was someone. I forgot who it is. Alonso was in negative deg, meaning that the faster, the more he lost fuel, he just kept going quicker.
Oh wow!
So he had better tyre deg. He was matching the Ferraris on long runs, and the car looked more competitive on mediums than it did softs. But they were pretty good on all compounds, to be fair. So
yeah, because they were there on the C4s.
Yeah.
And then even Drugovich, not massively far away, considering he's only just come in as well.
No, not at all.
He really impressed, actually, considering his lack of experience. Which in F1 terms is very limited. Very limited for him. And he's just jumped in. Because he said when he came up to the comms box for Sky, he came up and was... they asked him, when did you find out? Because obviously the news came quite late about Lance. And he was like, yeah, about 2 days before. And he's called up. He's basically Hulkenberg in this situation. Called up 2 days before and asked, can you jump in the car? And obviously the answer is yes.
Yes.
And he jumped in and He really like took to it like a duck to water. And
Mm,
as I say, I think it was the car that was allowing that too. Even Alonso was enjoying himself, and that's
yeah,
what we like to see. We want to see drivers enjoying their experience, right? Getting out
yeah,
there and giving
there's
it everything because they're not thinking, "Oh, this is a waste of time, isn't
I'm gonna jinx it, but
it?"
I said it last year. I really want to see Alonso battling with Max Verstappen because they're really good friends. But
Yes.
if Max races Alonso the way he races Lewis, Alonso isn't going to take kindly to that. And I if Aston Martin are that strong that they can be in the top four, which I think they will be, and Max has an off day, him and Alonso, I think it's just going to be something spectacular. I just want to see
Yeah.
it.
Tantalizing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is. The idea of Verstappen versus Alonso. The newspaper headlines are writing themselves at this point.
Oh,
It's extraordinary that prospect. Because we saw visions of that last season with Silverstone,
yeah,
with Leclerc and Perez and Hamilton all going
yeah,
at it at the same time. And that's what we live for
yeah,
as Formula One fans. It just is. It's all you ask for. Can they battle? Can they race close? Can they overtake? They demonstrated it last year.
yeah.
Just can we have Alonso involved as well, please?
Just
How cool
throw
would
him
that
in
be? We
L
want that.
plan. Get in. Just do
Yes,
it. Yeah.
more L plan.
They do
That's
look
all we have.
closer in pace, I have to say. I mean, we've not seen the
Yes.
full pace. They do look closer.
Mm,
I mean, past like best of the rest, all them. I mean, I don't know who's going to be midfield, what order, even at the back. I
yeah.
I've got no idea. We know Red Bull, Ferrari, Merc, maybe Aston there, but as
Mm.
the rest of them, no, not a
I
clue.
wouldn't want to call it at the
No.
moment. That is an impossible call. You've got the top four at the moment, and then what?
Mm,
I don't know
mm-mm.
because you get different indications. You get a long run from someone, go, oh, they're really competitive, and then you get someone doing a medium run. Oh, they're really competitive too. Then you do a hot lap. Whoa, they're way faster. It's impossible to call. It is impossible to call. I mean, because I thought Alpine would be there, but again, their compliance of the car's not helping them. And then you've got AlphaTauri, who occasionally popped in a really competitive C4 lap time on effectively a soft compound tyre, and it just throws me off again. It's like,
Yeah,
what is the pecking order here?
I
It's
don't know.
really quite
I don't.
tricky to call in the midfield. Um,
Mm,
but again, it was just I think reliability, at least at the beginning of the season, is going to be absolutely key, and that's what they'll be going away and racking their brains on in the factories, just to make sure that it's well and good getting a car into Q2 or even Q3.
mm,
If you're not going to make the checkered flags, not much point.
no.
Yeah, it makes your car visible. There's good publicity when you can get a result like that, but get to the checkered flag as well. That's what you need to be
Yeah,
working from.
yeah, and
So,
that's what I'm a little bit concerned with Aston Martin. We do have to obviously say that Lance Stroll won't make it to the Bahrain Grand Prix because he had an
mm,
accident in Spain. We don't really know what happened to him because they're not really telling us. They're not. There's been rumours that he
no,
broke his wrist. I mean, we don't know what's happened to him, but we do wish him well, and we obviously don't want to see any driver injured in any way, shape, or form. So we do
no.
hope that he recovers quickly and gets back on track. As much as Drogovic has done a good job,
Mm,
really.
an excellent stand-in.
Mm.
It really has. Excellent reserve. He's done his job, and he's gone out there and done laps and got data for the team, and that is basically all they can ask for from a guy
Yeah.
who they called up on 2 days prior,
2 days.
and 2 laps prior. That would be short notice.
Yeah, just a bit.
2 days prior, having no F1, no significant F1 experience prior to that.
No.
He really nailed it. And that's the big thing that a lot of these rookies will report back on, how sore their necks are. And testing's the big one because it's hour after hour after hour
Yeah.
of running. And
Mm.
unluckily for him, the Aston was quite reliable. So it kept going and going and going. So I imagine
Well,
his neck was a little bit sore.
think of it from this point of view with Aston. They've got two new drivers in
Mm,
in testing because Alonso knows what he's doing, but it's a new car to Alonso. and it's definitely a new car to Drugovich. So they had to kind of make it as even as possible because both of them needed that running to get used to the car and how it drives.
Really.
So, you know, they're going into the Bahrain Grand Prix as much as Alonso adapts very well to every car, but they are going in as new drivers to the team. So to see Aston up there so strong, it does look very promising. I don't want to jinx it because they'll probably be last.
Could you imagine? All this gets thrown out. Everything. They just throw the car out as well. Why not? Because it's one of those, it's such a dynamic situation that it's just asking for a few reliability problems. And all that pace they showed, all that promise, turns out to be a little bit meaningless.
Yeah.
So you've got to, reinforce it with some strong performances. And I think from their perspective, a double points finish would be a very, very good day for Aston Martin to start things off. I think they might even be clutching at the hope of a top 5 for Fernando. If they've got reliability and race pace, they've got the driver.
Yeah. There's not really an excuse
if anyone's
for him
going to do
to
it.
be there.
That's right.
So Kieran's saying P5 with Fernando Alonso at the Bahrain Grand Prix.
I think so.
First prediction of the season.
There it is. Yeah, I put my neck on the line straight away.
God.
Just like Drugovich did 2 days before his first go in an F1 car in anger. Put my neck on the line on that one. Quick mention on Alpine though, because they were reporting some severe rear axle problem as well. So speaking of reliability, they had some really, really severe problem with the rear axle of the car. It put them out of action for a few hours on either day 1 or 2. So that will be a bit of a headache for them. They talk about it quite a bit during, I think it was during the second day actually, but they were really, really struggling. So you were talking about how uncompliant the car was. They weren't going to make any progress in that area while they had that problem to fix too. So bad news for them in terms of this very, very close midfield fight as it's turning out to be. You know, we've got this really close midfield fight going on, and the last thing you want is some severe or major reliability issue that's, you know, fundamental to the car. It's a rear wheel drive. As soon as you've got an issue with the rear axle, you're in trouble.
Yes.
When you've got the likes of AlphaTauri and Alfa Romeo all looking very competitive, at least, you know, face value.
Oh, Williams got a very good amount of laps in.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
Albon was at 136 laps on the last day, which is the most of any individual driver.
Was it?
Yeah. So not by team.
Oh.
But on day 3, as an individual, he set the most laps out of anybody.
Okay, I'll let you have that one. It was because
by Williams, 3 laps. Yeah.
3 laps. Top of his head that was. 136 laps they've done in total. Altogether.
Right.
So
they were accumulating.
That was just Albon.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Absolute machine. Just
what do you
doing
think
it
of
all
Logan?
himself.
I don't know what to make of him.
I haven't seen enough of him yet.
No, I think that's why
It's the same thing with De Vries. Well, actually, no, that's a lie because he did do Monza last year. But still, that's one race. It's not proven. We haven't seen enough of him yet.
No.
I'm still not sure. Good on him because he's got the drive.
Yeah.
But he wasn't a champion.
No.
He was occasionally a race winner, if I recall correctly. But, you know, he wasn't the standout driver you expect. You know, your Russell, your Albon, your Norris. He may surprise us. But there's nothing there to indicate he's a starring driver in any way.
See, I know why they brought him in. because the American hype. Sorry,
Mm.
Sorry, Logan. That's not the only reason why you're there, but there's been a big hype. I think it's a little bit too late to bring an American driver in now because I feel like the hype from America and Drive to Survive is now just going to sort of go stale a little bit and just sort of
Fizzling out.
sit. Yeah, it's going to start to fizzle. So I think they needed to bring an American driver in a lot earlier than they have.
Mm.
So I get why Williams have done that because it's going to put eyes on them, which is great. But I just don't think he's got much of a track record to kind of go, yeah, he's the right fit. I don't know.
Proven driver yet.
Yeah.
Not a proven driver. What are his accolades? Some F2 victories at the moment. Now, he may surprise us again. He may surprise us. His priority is matching or beating his teammate.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's going to be easy because Albon has experience in a Red Bull.
Yeah. And experience
and
with
is
Williams.
very comfortable. Yeah.
Yeah,
he's had the Bottas effect, I think, Albon, where he's got all this experience. It didn't work out, but it's very valuable once he's found himself in a much more relaxed and hospitable environment. And now I think Albon will be extremely tough to beat.
Yeah.
So if Sargent does beat him outright, I think that's going to turn heads. Because like, well, Albon's got all this experience. Yeah, he took a bit of time out, but he's got all this experience. Sargent's only just coming in. He wasn't a champion, and yet he's beating him.
Yeah.
So he's gelling with the car better. That's a speculatory thing, but if he does, that's going to grab attention of some teams. I think when they go, oh, that's a surprise.
Yeah.
Everyone's expecting Albon to be the quicker of the two.
Yeah, I would expect that. I mean, they were consistently in the top 10, I think, as well. Quite a lot, which was, and then can't go for the time, whatever. But it's definitely improvement from last season. I mean, I think it was just that Duracell battery.
They put a bigger battery in it.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. Do you know
Duracell making big gains.
I put a TikTok up about that saying it had like a sound saying perfect, 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 and Duracell responded to it saying perfect, perfect, perfect.
You made it now.
I've done it. I've done it. I've done it. I've made it now. Duracell, I am available.
Breathing Duracell bunny right here.
Yeah.
Don't read too much into that.
That's what she said. Duracell, we are available for sponsorship.
We are available. Yeah.
If you want to sponsor our podcast.
We don't bite.
We don't vibrate either.
Don't read into that either.
No. Oh, God.
We're not Alpine.
No. Oh, God.
No, they're not sponsored by Duracell.
No, but quite a positive, very positive for Williams.
Yes, I think they can be very pleased after the 3 days. They got a lot of running in, and they got a lot of data, and they will improve. They will improve. They've got a good foundation to build from, and that's the key thing. For a team that their expectation is midfield. So a few points finishes, they'll be very content with that for the time being. They obviously want more. You look at the heritage of Williams. They want more, but realistically, near-term targets.
They're not there.
A few points.
You know, they need to take it step by step, and I think they're making these gradual, you know, improvements, and that's what you want. That's what you want to see. You don't want to, you know, if they suddenly became good, we'd all be like,
right?
What? You know, so
like how we are to Aston, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it's a shock that they are that good now, Aston, and that's why I'm like, reliability is going to be a problem. I think if they make it gradually, everything then works in and ties in and works together nicely. So I think that's what Williams need to do. And to be fair to Williams, they've done a better job than McLaren.
They certainly have. Reliability-wise, miles better. Literally miles better.
100%.
So they can, you know, tip the hat to them for that at least, because I think in the past they've had a lot of issues with that. But they are getting a very solid car under them. And for two drivers who, one of which has quite a bit of experience, still young though. But Albon is Norris, but with less experience, really.
Yeah.
So he just needs another season to just sort of embed himself in the team again, embed himself in the culture, and he's gonna be quick. He is gonna be quick, and there's gonna be those performances we go, there's the album we know.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for that because he's a wonderful character and a ridiculously quick driver.
Oh,
So
he's so lovely.
more of the same.
He deserves a very
Yeah.
positive, time with Williams and in Formula One. He really does.
Absolutely. And you know what? We're going to have Russell, Leclerc, Albon, and Norris on the grid again. I can't wait for more of that content.
Yes.
Plenty more of that, please.
Yes, the most exciting bit of the whole thing.
Another quiz. Another quiz, please.
Yes, we need that. Need that bit of like insight into drivers. Yes. Quizzes.
More personalities. They're the personalities,
Yeah.
That's the next generation, and they are a lot of fun around each other. So let's have more of that. That's the future of the sport, and I'm all for it.
Speaking of personalities, Alfa Romeo.
Romeo.
Bottas. I love him right now. He's just
Aussie Bottas.
His helmet was everything. He should have that all season.
Like, why is that only testing?
I know.
Make that a
why?
thing.
Like, sorry, man, but like, come on, that is so cool.
That's his helmet version of the camo livery, isn't it? You can't tell the difference. You don't know if he's wearing it or not.
Not a clue. Not a clue.
No. I mean,
definitely shout out for Zhou, who was fastest in day 2. They think he was on C3 mediums for that as well, which
even more impressive.
Yeah. No, I think they were all running mediums hard that day, though, to be fair. It's day 2, so, I mean, we don't know definite because we don't get told that stuff, so, but they did have technical issues later on in the day. And day 3, Bottas's gearbox failed.
It did.
Other than that, that's not bad.
Pretty smooth.
P3, day 3, weren't they? With Bottas.
Yeah,
that's like...
exactly. Just behind Hamilton. Probably about a tenth and a half, I think it was. Which is really funny to keep seeing that. Yeah, he's moved away and he's still right there. Nip it in his heels. I love it.
But I don't want, because we saw it last season, they were very strong at the beginning. And then they just flitted away towards the end of the season.
They did.
And that's kind of what, or are we getting a recreation of that kind of thing? That's the only thing I'm worried about with them.
Yeah, you make a good point. They just weren't able to develop quickly enough, I don't think. But they are under new sponsorship, aren't they? Stake. So is that going to help? I don't know. I don't know how that compares to Holland, who are now with AlphaTauri.
Isn't it banned in certain countries because it's a gambling thing, stake, isn't it?
Yes, it is actually.
But there's certain countries like, Saudi Arabia, is it banned there? I can't remember.
I'll have to double check that one, but there is probably going to be 1 or 2 locations that are a little bit edgy about that.
Yeah, they're gonna have to take the logo off the car, potentially.
Yeah, I don't know what the agreement is there actually. Because there were some situations where the drivers were able, some of the races, drivers were able to still do stuff that people who living in that country probably wouldn't be able to do. Yeah. So I don't know if there's like a veto on it because they're racing on a sort of neutral international platform, so they don't have to worry so much about that, or they may well have to take the sponsorship off. Time will tell, I think, if that ends up being the case. But I suppose it wouldn't be a surprise. But what the key thing for Alfa Romeo really is whether that new sponsor is going to give them the run of development they need to stay where they are. Because, as you say, they tend to start seasons off well and fall away, sadly.
It's a shame. Zhou looked really strong as well.
Yeah.
Not just, Bottas. But they seem to be very consistent, both of the drivers. So they've definitely got a good pair in there, 100% taken into this year.
They do. It's a healthy environment. It looks like a very healthy environment. There's no angst between the drivers or anything like
No.
that. They're not competing too closely. They know exactly what their roles are. It's very clearly Bottas in the leading role. Joe still learning, but learning very quickly, must be said. And they are only going to improve from a sort of driver perspective, I think. It's just whether the development can keep up and still give them the opportunities to fight for, at times, knocking on the door of podiums, but certainly regular points. I think that's what they're going to be hoping for sure. But that might be a little bit trickier with Aston Martin about.
Yeah, possibly. Because another team that looked pretty strong was Haas.
They did. Really did. They were sort of quietly getting on with it.
Yeah,
Didn't
they
really hear
weren't
much
like...
of them.
No, not a lot.
No.
The only things I remember, they had a bit of porpoising on day one. A little bit, you saw sort of bobbing around a little bit. But they seem to have corrected that and then just gone about their time. They had the most laps out of everyone. 171 laps they did.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive. That is
That's
impressive.
consistency.
Massive consistency.
Massively. Yeah.
And I gotta just point out as well, we all look at the liveries at the start of the season. They're all really crisp. The professional photos taken of the cars and stuff. Once they get out on track, then that's the litmus test. The Haas is the best looking car on track. The stripes, the way they've worked the stripes, I think it's just putting that out there right now, because I think a lot of people responded like, it's a really good looking car, but then everyone's like, oh, the Merc's really nice, the Ferrari's really nice. As soon as they get out on track, that's when it's a good looking car.
Yeah.
The Haas is the best looking car out there because they're actually using paint. And what the nice thing was, you could see it on track because they were doing 171 laps as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I thought they were very impressive. And, to have Hulkenberg back on the grid again in a full-time role this time, that's, he's got mountains of experience. So
I just can't with Hulkenberg. I'm sorry. I just can't. I don't understand why he's here again. He's he's got to be he's never had a podium ever, and he's been in cars that can give him podiums. And look, Mick had an iffy last season, cost him a lot of money because of the accidents. I don't think Gunther was that fair to him, to be fair, from what's been.
No.
See, he was knocking his confidence. But, two experienced drivers is a good thing to have in a team that's trying to progress up the grid, because they can gather a lot of information from Nico. He's going to understand it a lot more.
Right.
But, Nico, really?
He's a very lucky guy to keep finding his way back in this often.
I don't know how he does it.
And to be absolutely clear, he has got mountains of experience. There's no doubt about that. But with that, he's also had so many opportunities as well, and fairly good ones as well, to get those podiums that has eluded him for his entire career so far in F1.
Yeah.
And it's like, I wonder what it was that pushed Haas in that direction.
Is he not getting money for it? Is he not being paid?
It wouldn't surprise me.
I don't know if he's got sponsorship or something. I don't really know what his sponsorship is. But, I mean, just throwing this out there, Callum Ilott never got an opportunity in Formula One, which I think is ridiculous. And he was kind of on the Haas road. So, wouldn't it have been good that, Callum's been racing? Wouldn't it have been good to just pop him in that role? I know, I get the experience bit, that's fine. But they also need someone who's young and fighty to then push that car a little bit further. And I think someone like Callum would have just been a better option for them.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Has been an American team, and Ilott's been racing predominantly in America right now. He's probably going to come back over to Formula 1 with an American accent. He was getting
Possibly.
one.
Yeah.
The amount of interviews I was hearing, he was getting an American accent gradually. So he'd have been a perfect fit for Haas at the moment.
Yeah.
Aside from his pace, obviously.
Mm.
But again, it's just an odd one. I'd love to know what the thought process was. Is it his presence? Is it his popularity? His pace obviously is still there because the data says so.
Yeah.
It's still just an odd one considering what future plans are for the team as well.
Yeah.
What next?
Kevin
How many seasons is he intending to do?
I think Kevin annoyed them. And they just went, that's it. We're putting Nico Hulkenberg in there. Because Kevin must have thought, is that a joke? Like, he must have sat there and go, we're putting Nico Hulkenberg in the car. They were, all right, yeah, sure, all right.
Right.
Suck my balls, all that. Yeah, whatever. And then Nico walks in and he's like, what?
Suck my balls, mate.
I just don't know. I can't.
Hello again, most unsportsman driver on the grid. It's like, oh, that's gonna. I can see it already.
I don't think they're gonna get on.
The atmosphere in there. It takes one situation, it gets a little bit out of hand, and the whole team morale goes out the window.
Yeah,
for them too. There's a history.
They're not. That's not gonna leave. I think
no, it doesn't.
Kevin's not a very sort of I'll go up to you and have a go at you after a race kind of guy.
No.
He'll just be aggressive on the track and then walk away. Where Nico, on the other hand, will come up to you and go, oh, unsupportive driver. They're going to argue. There is going to be a point where they're on that same piece of tarmac and one of them's going to think the other one hit them and it's his fault and all that shit. Like, I just don't know.
I know it will add extra weight, but those motorhomes will probably have steel doors.
Yeah.
With those two about, because there are no more. There is no way any more doors are getting smashed on Gunter's note. Not a chance.
Well, they shrunk the pit box to save some money, and that's just so they can pay for the steel doors.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. This is what happened to Red Bull. They started taking development out of the catering budget and thought, we're not going down that road again. We're going to give you less room.
Oh, God.
Gunter has just given himself so much work to do again.
Yeah.
I don't know why he keeps doing this to himself, but he really does. Found himself in the right predicament with them, but I can't imagine anyone else being able to stick it out this long. At a team like that.
No.
He is still there now, and I think that ought to be mentioned. Actually, he's still there now. That says a lot about him. Yeah, and he still hasn't really changed. This sport hasn't changed him. He's that resilient. He's a very robust character, and nothing's shifted him.
He loves it. He loves it.
Yeah, he does. I think he genuinely does.
Like, I don't think, even though Haas haven't been particularly fast, I mean, God, the Mazepin era, that wasn't fun for him. You could see that was a problem. I don't think he really had a choice, to be honest. But he loves, even though they might be at the back, he came out in the Las Vegas jacket. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, that's amazing.
He's all...
loving this, yeah.
He's just having a laugh.
He's just living life.
Yeah.
He's the type of guy who's like, if I have a day where I'm run off my feet, then I've had a good day. It doesn't matter if run off my feet because we've had an amazing result or because my two drivers are literally fighting each other and broke my office door. I don't care. I'm living life. That's his outlook, I think. But as long as I'm busy with something, I don't care.
Yeah.
This is I'm lucky to do this kind of thing. I don't know, because I'm sure there's a lot of team principals who would have just given up by this point with that team and gone, forget it, I'm not interested. This is too much of a headache. But he's still doing it.
Christian Horner as the team principal of Haas. My God, he'd have had a fit by now. He'd have stormed off. Lip gloss would have been thrown all over the wall. Like, honestly, the proper
I think she complains
melt.
now.
Oh
The
my
sixth member of the
god.
Spice Girls, literally, the amount of like handbags. Honestly, he wouldn't be able to cope in that environment, I don't think. And
No.
that's weird to say considering he's Red Bull team principal. But when you've got a team that's already competitive, you only have to answer for yourself.
Yeah.
But Haas has to answer for a lot of other things. And Gunter, that must be a bit of a headache at times. But that's what I mean. Horner, I don't know if he would have been able to handle that same pressure and scrutiny. I'm not saying he doesn't have scrutiny. Of course he does.
No, he does, but
he gets in a different way.
yeah, he
When
doesn't
you
have
got
the
a proven
pressure
team
of
like that,
being at the back.
yeah,
Like, and trying to find
exactly.
money for a team that's at the back and doesn't get as much airtime and things like that, you know. Yeah, no, I don't think he would. It would be quite funny to watch it though. They should do like wife swap F1 team principal edition.
They nearly did this year, Mike.
Yeah, they did. They did quite
It
a
was getting
bit.
there.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That's
They
what
have
Drive
done
to
some
Survive
swapping.
should do.
They have done some swapping.
They should
But
totally
that would
do
be
that.
entertaining. Yes. Let's just tell you what. Let's just keep it simple and have a team principal kart race.
Yeah.
That'd be.
Yeah.
I'd love to see that.
Well, some of them have
because you have the drivers do
experience.
karting.
Yeah, but
Yeah, you have the team
Christian would be
principals
at
in
the
there. So
back.
who's the best?
Christian would be at the back, 100%. He'd be too busy getting his makeup on. Sorry.
I think even Fred Vasseur would be ahead of him.
He would. He's such an asset to Ferrari. I'm really liking that he went to Ferrari.
Amazing decision.
Yeah.
To bring him in. Yeah. He just looks like he's an authority. So
yeah.
I'm the guy here. You listen right now.
But he's nice.
Got
so
all this experience as well.
You want to do what he asks of you because he's such a nice man as well. And his experience, like you said, like honestly, he should guide them, hopefully, in the right direction this year.
Yeah.
Because they can't have any more team principals. I mean, for goodness sake, they keep swapping them all the time. They've got to come to a point where it's like, maybe it's not the team principal. Maybe it's another area. Strategy, possibly. I don't know what they've done with their strategy, by the way.
And they have changed the strategist.
I've
they have a new chief strategist. I wish I remembered the name, but they have changed the strategist. I wish I remembered
the name. Sounds great. He sounds like he knows what he's doing. Yeah.
It rolls right off the tongue.
Yeah. Do leave it in the comments section if anyone has the name of the new head strategist at Ferrari, because we don't.
Even before there isn't actually one, I've just completely misinterpreted that entire situation.
Probably.
No, they have hired someone new, and I know this because I thought, thank God, it's about time they found someone new to do that job, because it's a long time coming, and they had a lot of issues, that wasted points, and they can't afford that again.
No.
Because the whole butterfly flaps its wing thing, if they had got a few more points, would it have been a different story? Because the mindset had been different. I don't know, but they cost themselves a lot, and this was a necessary thing to do, and I just hope it works, because I don't know how experienced this new chief strategist is.
Well, you don't even know his name. So
no, I don't exactly.
I don't know what you know about him.
I know he's the new Ferrari chief strategist.
That's it.
And he's hoping for good things. Yes.
We'll call him Guy A.
Guy A.
Yeah.
Gaia.
Let's hope he's not Dyer.
He is Gaia.
That's such a dad joke. Fucking hell.
It is. Coming from you as well. Shocking.
I'm sorry. Unsubscribe.
Unsubscribe.
On it. Last team. AlphaTauri. I have a little admission. I obviously did notes before because you've seen me looking up at them all the time. My notes for AlphaTauri. Is I have no notes. I don't remember them at all.
I didn't have anything written down either.
I don't know what they did.
Nothing.
I don't know. I could tell you one thing. They did 166 laps. They were the second They came second in the most
Would they?
completed laps.
So interestingly, the teams that did the most laps got the least attention.
Yes, because they just went about their day.
Yes, they weren't
That
making
was
any
it.
noise.
Yeah, just having a great time. And
Just
sometimes
under the radar the
best.
whole
That's
time.
the best way to be, under the radar. No one's
It
expecting it, and
is.
then boom, AlphaTauri's won Bahrain.
Right. And this
Yeah.
Sonoda put in a really competitive time on day 3. On C4 tyres, I think it was as well. He was right in the thick of it. And again, fuel played into it. But they were there and they were going about their business
Yeah,
and
they
they
were
did have a
driving.
reliable car.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no
And
issues with the car.
no,
Nothing that I
that's
could
right.
find. Like nothing. They seem.
That's right.
I don't remember them. They just seemed really good. So
Exactly.
you never know. But I'm a little bit
The only
concerned
thing
about Yuki. Isn't this his third season?
Oh yes, yes it is.
And he's not
And technically
really.
he's now the team leader, isn't he? With the
Yeah,
Breeze there. So he's got
yeah,
big shoes to fill.
yeah, exactly. He's.
Pressure's
I
on.
don't know if. I kind of feel like if he doesn't pull something out the bag, and based on how AlphaTauri were last year, they were nowhere last year. Even Gasly struggled with the car. So if he's not got a car under him that's going to be competitive enough and he's not getting the results, this could be his last season in F1. And then I can't say Yuki Tsunoda anymore.
Oh, gutted. Enjoy it while it lasts, guys.
I'm going to say it a lot this season.
Every single lap.
Yeah.
Just to make
Yuki Tsunoda.
before he gets announced again next year and it's all not worth it. They did well in testing. It's just they're giving an impression like they're not quite there in a few different ways.
I don't know because I don't remember seeing them. I don't know. I can't.
This is it. Yeah, they were barely got on the telly.
I don't even know.
Yeah,
the
camera was barely on them
once. No, sorry. Great podcast. This is. Just,
oh yeah, exactly. Yeah,
the
we've covered
best.
9 out of 10 teams.
Yes, pretty much. Who's the team you're most impressed with? Who do you think's done the best? Sort of car.
Aston Martin.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the obvious one because of how far they apparently have moved forward. At least from an outright pace point of view. I mean, obviously there's some teams that have gone under the radar a little bit, but Aston clearly are, the biggest improvers at face value. So I think they've impressed me the most. Absolutely.
No, I think I'd agree with that. I hope that comes off into something during the season because I want to see Alonso battle Max. I just want to see it. It's just
that would
let's
be
get
just
some proper
spectacular
racing with them. Yeah,
because Alonso isn't going to take any of that either.
No.
Just like, no, I've seen all this before. I've seen every single move you're pulling off. I've seen this before 10 times over.
Long time.
Don't even think about it.
Plan has been here longer than you've been on this earth. He'll still be racing when he's 100. He'll still be faster than everyone.
Exactly. Yeah, this is the thing with Alonso. His fitness is ridiculous, and as a result, he can just keep going and going and going and going. It doesn't bother him. It doesn't bother him.
No.
Very, very gifted driver.
What's your favourite
Shame
livery?
he's only got 2 championships. Oh, my favourite livery.
He might get a third, by the way. You never know. Anyway, favourite livery.
Fingers crossed. Favourite livery. I would say, I think now I've watched testing, it's the Haas, actually. It just, it's the litmus test. And it did look purposeful. It did look really smart. It was actually a well-designed livery. It wasn't just revolving around sponsorship. It was actually the MoneyGram thing was well integrated into the car. And it still looked like a race car. It looks like a racing car. That's the point. It looks like a car. I love it. I really like it. Yeah. Definitely.
I'm still going with Alpha. I think it's beautiful.
Alpha.
Stunning.
It's the two-tone, isn't it? Yeah. They
It's
made it work.
Beautiful.
They made it work.
Yeah. Because I didn't like the white on it last year. Because the white during the race can get a bit off.
Yes.
And that's kind of what annoys me with it. So it's like, look, we've got this carbon fibre thing going on, so make it black. And it just works. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, it's a good colour combo. They definitely nailed it. And that's not to say that Merc didn't do the same thing, because the green stripe along the bottom as well, that just, it brings it all out, brings it all together, and I think that's all you need.
They just painted that little green bit.
Yeah, that's all you need. And they got like accolades for the best livery. That it's extraordinary. They barely painted it. One brush stroke. That's all they needed. But then simplicity is key, isn't it? You know, that's the art of it. Literally the art of it.
Literally. I think that was our first episode.
I think it was.
I think it was. Right, Kazza.
Sorry.
Who's winning the Bahrain Grand Prix?
Well, Justin, I've got to say, I think it's Max, isn't it?
Yeah, probably.
Looked the most comfortable in testing. The car looked the most comfortable in testing. It's at the same track. It's Max.
It's Max, isn't it?
Yes.
I think I think we have the same prediction. Max
Not
will
very
win.
Creative.
No, it's massively creative.
I mean, who else are we gonna pick, right?
Perez. He's in the same car.
Perez
might win.
This is Red Bull.
Yeah. Odds on Perez gets replaced by Daniel Ricciardo halfway through the season.
Halfway through the race, more like.
Pit now.
Just pull him in. And he's ready.
As a good eye, mate.
Cheers, mate. Thanks, mate. You kept my seat warm.
Did you pee my seat?
Chezo.
Oh. Let us know your predictions in the comments for the Bahrain Grand Prix. I think our first podcast is a wrap.
It is.
It is.
I think it was a great success at the slowest podcast in the world. We hit the brief.
It was great. Thank you everyone for watching. Make sure you are subscribed on all of the wonderful channels, on all of our socials. We will be back next Tuesday after the Bahrain Grand Prix to give our reactions and opinions. Yes, very, very excited. But for now, thank you for listening, and we'll see you all next week.